Hey guys, welcome back for another video. Today I am going to talk about something that I think is really cool. So, in my last video I customized by repainting and weathering the Kylo Ren Hasbro Blade Builder's lightsaber from Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, it's kind of just sitting over on my shelf as like a little display piece, which was kind of the intention of it. But the reason that I made that video and did that project in general is because I recently got into the custom lightsaber collecting community, and I thought, it seemed like a really cool hobby. I've always been a big fan of Star Wars, so I thought it'd be something good for me to do. So I ordered my first saber from Ultrasabers. Now, before actually looking at the saber itself, I should talk about Ultrasabers for a minute. So they are one of the most well-known saber companies. They have been around for probably about like 15 years, something like that apparently, and from what I understand they had a pretty good reputation for a really long time, but recently they've had issues, possibly due to the pandemic, maybe not. I guess that really does depend on your point of view on the situation, but a lot of saber companies in general have had issues getting parts because they tend to buy LEDs and whatnot, speakers from China, and shipping between the US and China has been a bit shoddy lately because of the pandemic. Other people do think that it's just because they're poorly managed, but I mean, maybe they are, but I think their product is alright. A lot of people do complain about outdated electronics, but I guess that depends on really what you're going for. You probably could find a better sound saber somewhere else. Me personally, I just got a stunt saber, which means that it's got no sound, just because I figured, I don't need to pay all the extra money for sound. I just want something that I can goof around with. Obviously, my opinion, if you're going to buy a saber, you're going to get into this hobby, definitely look around, but if one place has the only saber you want, like you don't see something else somewhere else, you might as well go get it, you know what I mean? So if Ultrasabers is the only company that has the one you want, maybe you should take the risk. At the end of the day, it is your money. Obviously, do what you think is best. So, the biggest complaint, though, is apparently their shipping. So, they advertise pretty fast shipping. Apparently, usually they ship within 2 weeks after ordering, but because of the pandemic, their current lead time is an estimated 3 to 4 weeks. So you would expect about a month after ordering your saber, you're going to get a shipping notification, and usually they get across from where they're based in Texas to wherever you are in the United States pretty quick. Obviously, if you're an international buyer, it might be a little different due to customs and things like that. But they've kind of had issues meeting with that lead time. I ordered my saber on May 4th, Star Wars Day. And I didn't get mine until July 8th, I think. So I waited about 2 months, which honestly, some saber companies, you wait way longer. I know that if you order from Saberforge, you wind up waiting months, like 4 months to 6 months, but at least, their lead time is an estimated 12 to 15 weeks, so you kind of expect something like that. But yeah, I ordered my saber, I waited for 2 months, but, it's really weird, because in the process I joined a couple Facebook groups regarding saber collecting, and I'd see people order their sabers after me and then get it before me. I know one person I saw literally ordered their saber and it shipped within 24 hours. But in a more personal thing for me, one of my friends ordered his about 2 weeks after I ordered mine, and he got his in like 2.5 weeks before mine even shipped. Another friend, however, ordered his a week after mine, so before the first friend, and he still hasn't gotten his. He's trying to communicate with the company, but he's probably going to try to find some way to get his money back, just because he's dealing with some moving and it's going to cause some complications. But anyway, into my actual saber. So I ordered the Aeon LE V5, and I guess the LE thing is supposed to be some sort of limited edition, but the LE is just essentially the gold details. And I got mine in a stunt configuration, so it's got no sound, and it is a green LED. Now, obviously you can tell it doesn't really pick up perfect with the lights on, but you can see by the glow it is green. And we're going to get a better look at that when the lights are off in a couple minutes after we take a closer look. So, let's bring this down to my desk, get the blade out, and just take a closer look at the hilt before we get into anything. Okay, so now that we have the saber on my desk, we can take a closer look at it. So, if I bring it up a little closer, you see that it has these claws. That's what they call them. They call them claws. It's sort of just a design accent. It gives it a cool look. They're obviously gold because they're part of the LE saber, but you could choose to have them be more of the chrome aluminum color like the rest of the hilt. You have the option of 2 blade plugs. So what the blade plug does is that it essentially sits in the blade socket while you don't have a blade, that way dust doesn't get in there. And it does give a cool little look. Mine kind of has like a... Well, I don't really know how to describe it, to be honest, but it does kind of remind me of Iron Man's arc reactor when it's turned on, and it has the same polycarbonate plastic tube as the actual saber blade, so it does reflect light pretty good. And yeah, it looks really cool. I didn't get a CoverTech wheel or clip, so I can't really clip this to my belt. I could attach a D-ring, kind of like the old lightsabers had in the original movies, but I don't know if I'm going to do that, to be honest. Now it has this AV switch, and this is just the activation button. You see it turns on right there. Pretty simple. Now the internals are all right here, so you can unscrew this pommel, and it comes off pretty simply. They're threaded for the modular hilt system threads, so technically any pommel on any Ultrasaber saber could be swapped out with each other. And this is sort of where we reference one of the complaints of buyers about Ultrasabers is their electronics. So for mine, obviously the LED is up here, but this is the battery pack. It is quite literally 4 AAA batteries and wrapped in Velcro, and it kind of just hangs loose in here. That's a common complaint. So I kind of modified this by wrapping around that with a little bit of spare craft foam from a little project I've been working on, which actually you can see a little teaser up there in the corner that I'm pointing at. But we won't get too much into that, and essentially it holds the electronics in there a little more steady. They don't slide around. But yeah, that's a pretty common complaint, is their electronics are kind of put together in a shoddy way and not really secure, which a lot of people don't like, but you can easily modify that. You can get a chassis to go in there to hold your electronics, and obviously if I had a sound saber I would have a speaker right here, but I don't have a sound saber, so it is one solid piece. Now overall, I think the hilt itself is pretty sturdy. I think that is one thing that people do credit Ultrasabers with, is that their hilts tend to be pretty decent when they're not the ones based on the movies, when they're really big. They tend to be pretty sturdy. Some people think that they have a flashlight feel, like the old 80s cop mag lights, which I could definitely see. I mean, this is definitely a two-hander, but it can be held with one hand. It's got a couple different spots that you can use as a choke point for spinning. I like right here, but up here works. But one thing that a lot of people point out is that the claws tend to jab into your fingers. I haven't really had a problem with it, but I know that it is a problem for some people. And what they like to do is actually pry the claws off and just flip them. And that also looks pretty cool, but personally I don't think I'm going to do it because I don't trust myself to not screw it up. But yeah, I think overall, despite the struggles with Ultrasabers and their customer service, the hilt itself is good. The blade is held in with kind of, I think, just a standard issue retention screw. And another thing that you can have sent with you, I think it's included in some cases, like if you buy a mystery box, it's free, but then it's like $1, is a little Allen key wrench, and you just stick it in there, turn it a little bit, and the blade plug slides out, or the blade, if it happens to be in, slides out pretty easily. And then all you gotta do is turn it the opposite direction to lock them in. See, I could hold this upside down and the blade plug's not gonna come out. So that's pretty good. Usually you want to leave a little indent on your plug or your blade, and that's how you know it's held tight enough. So let's get a look real quick before we move on as you can see, it is pretty blinding, but that is what the blade plug looks like when it's ignited. I think it looks pretty cool, and it does make for some cool low light pictures. So speaking of low light, we'll now move on to get a look at this with the lights off and see how that green really looks. So we'll jump into that right now. Okay, so now we are in almost complete darkness in my room. It is literally only lit up by my TV, but we're in a pretty dark area now, so I'm going to turn the lightsaber on, and we're going to get a good look at what the LED looks like in the dark. So here it is. And then you can see that compared to when the overhead light is on, the green is far more vibrant. It looks way better, and you know, you can see it looks good. You can spin it around, you know, give it a little twirl, maybe hit my dresser, but you know, it overall I think it looks great. You know, it's a basic saber, no sound, but it looks good, it feels good, and that's what really matters. Now, I did already get a couple scuffs on the blade, but those probably won't get picked up by the camera, so you won't see them, unfortunately. But, you know, just have fun swinging it around, and what could go wrong? Don't do so in a small room like I have, though, because you will wind up hitting the ceiling, hitting your dresser, hitting literally everything. So, anyway, now that we've seen how this looks, let's take a look at some pictures that I've taken, either with me holding the saber or of just the saber itself, because it is a wonderful, wonderful saber. So let's get right into that. Alright guys, now before we close out, we should probably cover the remainder of what came in the package. So obviously, you've already seen the blade plug. It comes with this little bit, and it's about 2 inches long, I think, 1 inch diameter. Also in the package, obviously the Allen wrench that I mentioned, and you get this little thank you letter from Ultrasabers, pretty much just saying thank you for choosing Ultrasabers. You know, all these other little things, link to their forum site, as well as explaining the battery setups, whether it be the standard setup, which I have with the AAA batteries, or the lithium-ion battery setup, which is, I guess, a teensy bit more complicated. And some more instructions, as well as a link to their website. They also include a couple Ultrasabers business cards. That's what these are. So, you know, just in case some of your friends are into Star Wars, you can hand them out, and then they could go buy sabers of their own. I'm not going to hand them out because all my friends that would buy from Ultrasabers either already have or, well, aren't going to, are looking elsewhere. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It literally just comes in this super long box. Some cases, depending on what you order, your saber might already be connected to the blade. I believe mine was, but it comes in this really long box, and for all this. And that's pretty much it. This is, again, the Ultrasabers Aeon LE V5. I think it's pretty awesome. Hopefully the first of many, and we'll see what I bring next. Next saber I buy will get a video of its own maybe someday. As well as other projects that may involve crafting. You may have gotten a sneak peek as to one of them, but we'll see when the time comes for that. Who knows? I just make these videos to keep myself busy in my free time and just have something to do. So, yeah, I had some fun, and again, this is the Ultrasabers Aeon LE V5. May the Force be with you, and goodbye.